Hello Internet, this is the Too Complex video tutorial series. In this video we're going to make some sprite graphics. In particular, we're going to draw a little arcade spaceship. So I'm going to get started in the sandbox directory in a new C++ file called ship.cpp. Inside ship.cpp I'm going to pound include sprite environment.h. I'm in a subclass sprite environment, so class ship environment public sprite environment. I'll leave the body of the class definition empty for now so that I can make a main down below so that something compiles and runs. Inside the main I'm going to instantiate a ship environment called e and then call e.mainLoop. Return 0. That ought to be enough to get a window on the screen. Let's just make and run to make sure. Make ship ./ship, and there's our window. Now, to get more behavior than that, what we're going to do is override some virtual functions of sprite environment, starting with init. Void init, empty parentheses. Down here I'll put the implementation, void ship environment, :init. Now init gets called automatically after the window is initted, but before the subsequent calls to draw. So this is the perfect place to initialize our sprite graphics. But before we get started with that, we need an image file with all the frames of animation of our spaceship in it. I'm going to copy that image file from the examples directory. Let me just show you what's in that file. We've got 32 frames of animation of the ship rotating around, and then another row with 32 frames with the engine turned on. That's the image file we're going to use. First thing we're going to need is a sprite object. So up here in the class definition, I'm going to go sprite ship. Now, a sprite in our library represents a texture on the graphics card. So we need to initialize that texture with the contents of the file that I just showed you. I'm going to do that in the init function. I'm going to type the line slowly so I can explain each step a little bit. We'll start with bank. Bank is a member of sprite environment, and when I say bank, think asset bank, a resource bank. This is an object for the purpose of retrieving resource data from a file, and it's got a function init texture with path. Takes two arguments. First we're going to pass in a pointer to our sprite object, so ampersand ship, and then we're going to give it a path to the image file that I just showed you, ship.png. That ought to initialize the texture information with the bitmap data from that image file. There's just one more thing we need to do, and that is we need to inform the sprite of the number of rows and columns in the rectangular array of frames of animation. So ship.number of rows equals 2, ship.number of columns equals 32. That's all the initialization we need to do for the sprite, but nothing will draw yet, because a sprite, as I say, represents a graphics resource, a texture on the graphics card in texture memory, but not the information about where on the screen to draw it or which frame of animation is current. That information lives in a different type called actor. So up here in the class definition, I'm going to make an actor, and since this represents a specific ship on the screen, it's going to be called enterprise. Down in init, I'm going to go enterprise.sprite equals ampersand ship. That tells enterprise which sprite graphics to draw with. Enterprise.x equals 100, enterprise.y equals 200. That'll put it in the middle of the window somewhere. Enterprise.frame equals 7. That says which frame of animation is current. And finally, to draw our actor, I'm going to override the draw function of the environment, void draw const. Down here I'll put the implementation, void ship environment, draw, empty parentheses, const, braces, and inside enterprise.draw. That ought to be enough to draw our ship on the screen. Let's just make and run to make sure. And there's our ship. That's how you get started If you go to toocomplex.com, you can find instructions about how to download the codebase that I've been working in, and you can find links to more video tutorials like this one that will help you get started making your game. Thanks for watching.